Hello everyone and welcome back to Story Sprout, where every tale blooms with emotions and unexpected turns. If you love stories that touch the heart, inspire hope, and sometimes bring a few tears to your eyes, then you are in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and stay with us until the very end, because today's story will take you on a journey of compassion, patience, and an unforgettable twist of fate. It all began in a quiet hospital ward where the soft hum of machines filled the air. A young nurse named Emily had just started her shift. She was only 23, new to the job, and still learning how to balance her duties with the emotions that came with caring for people in such vulnerable conditions. Emily had always been passionate about helping others, and though the work was demanding, she carried a gentle smile wherever she went. That morning, she was assigned to a patient who had been in a coma for weeks. His name was Mr. Jonathan Blake, a wealthy businessman known across the city for his empire of companies and for living a life of luxury. But now, all of that was far away. In the hospital bed, hooked to tubes and monitors, he looked like any other fragile human being, vulnerable and silent. Most of the staff treated Jonathan like just another case. To them, he was a body they had to monitor, a chart they had to update, and a responsibility to keep alive until either his family made a decision or nature took its course. But Emily did not see him that way. She spoke to him as though he could hear her, greeting him every morning, telling him about the weather, and sometimes even sharing little pieces of her own life. On this particular day, Emily entered his room with a basin of warm water and a towel. Part of her duty was to keep him clean and comfortable. She set the basin down and gently rolled up her sleeves. Looking at his face, she said softly, "Good morning, Mr. Blake. It's a beautiful sunny day outside. Maybe today will be the day you open your eyes." She dipped the towel in the warm water, wrung it out, and began to carefully wash his hands, then his arms, moving with the patience and care of someone who truly respected the dignity of her patient. As she worked, she spoke quietly, "You know, my mom used to tell me that even when people can't respond, they can feel kindness. So I hope you feel this, Mr. Blake." And then, something happened that froze her in her tracks. She felt a faint squeeze against her wrist. At first, she thought she imagined it. Her heart skipped a beat as she looked up at his face. His eyelids twitched, his fingers moved ever so slightly, and then, his eyes slowly opened. Emily gasped. "Mr. Blake, can you hear me?" she whispered, trying not to let her excitement overwhelm her. The machines beeped a little faster, picking up the change in his heart rate. Jonathan blinked a few times, his gaze cloudy, as though he was trying to focus on the face in front of him. His lips parted, and in a hoarse whisper he said, "Where am I?" Tears filled Emily's eyes as she quickly pressed the call button for the doctors but stayed by his side, holding his hand. "You're in the hospital, but you're safe. You've been asleep for a long time. I'm Emily, your nurse." Within moments, the room filled with doctors and other nurses rushing in to check on him. They ran their tests, adjusted his monitors, and confirmed what Emily had witnessed: Jonathan Blake was awake. The news spread through the hospital like wildfire. But what no one expected was what came next. As Jonathan slowly recovered his strength, he began to ask questions, not about his business or his wealth, but about Emily. Who was she? Why was she there when he woke up? And why did he remember her voice? You see, during those weeks in the coma, though Jonathan could not move or speak, he later confessed that he had faint glimpses of awareness. He remembered a soft voice talking to him about the sunshine, about life, and about hope. He remembered the gentle touch when his hands were washed, the patience in every word spoken to him. That voice was Emily's. In the days that followed, Jonathan requested Emily by name every time he needed assistance. She was surprised by how much he valued her presence. While others saw him as the wealthy man who had regained consciousness, she continued to treat him like a human being, with kindness and honesty. She told him stories about her childhood, about how her family struggled financially, and how she worked double shifts to help her younger brother pay for college. Jonathan listened carefully, and for the first time in his life, he began to understand what it meant to connect with someone without money, status, or power in the way. He told her about his empire, but also about the loneliness that came with being surrounded by people who only cared for his wealth. Weeks later, Jonathan was discharged from the hospital, healthier but changed. His family expected him to return to his old lifestyle immediately, but instead, he spent time reflecting. He realized that while he had everything money could buy, he never had the kind of genuine compassion that Emily showed him when he was most helpless. A few months passed, and Emily thought she might never see him again. She continued her routine at the hospital, caring for patients with the same gentle dedication. But one afternoon, as she was leaving after a long shift, she saw a sleek black car waiting at the hospital entrance. The door opened, and out stepped Jonathan Blake, dressed in a simple suit, not the extravagant kind he was known for. "Emily," he called out, his voice warm and filled with gratitude. She was stunned. "Mr. Blake, what are you doing here?" He smiled. "I came to see the person who gave me a second chance at life. I don't think I would have found the strength to wake up if it weren't for you." Emily's eyes widened. "I was just doing my job." "No," Jonathan said gently. "You gave me dignity when I had none, and you gave me hope when I couldn't even speak. That's not just a job, that's humanity." From that day on, Jonathan stayed in touch with Emily and her family. But he didn't stop there. Quietly, he began to sponsor scholarships for nursing students, starting with Emily's younger brother. He also donated funds to the hospital, insisting it be used to support patients who couldn't afford treatment. And as for Emily, she never sought recognition or reward. But the bond she had formed with Jonathan turned into something deeper, an unspoken friendship built on gratitude, respect, and trust. Life had thrown them together in the most unexpected way. A young nurse washing a man in a coma had no idea she was awakening not just his body, but also his heart. And that's the beauty of this story. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness we show to others when no one is watching become the very thing that changes a life forever. Thank you for watching Story Sprout, where every story reminds us that kindness is never wasted. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heart-touching stories. Until next time, keep believing in the power of compassion.